PPI, Producer Price Index, and what it means for your mortgages going forward if you've got an adjustable rate, and a little bit of stocks, sports, macro, and futures, all on today's Rebel's Edge. Bang! Welcome back, folks. That is indeed Pete Najarian. I'm Jon Najarian. And by the way, Pete, I will be on with Mr. Charles Payne today, along with, I believe, a female trader by the name of, I think it's Susan Downey. And looking forward to being on with Charles and Susan. And it's going to not just be about the markets, Pete. I know you were on with Maria, so this will be, a double hit for us. But I will be part of a panel where we're going to discuss some news of the day that isn't necessarily stock news of the day. In other words, it's going to be kind of fun.
Yeah.
That's all coming your way at about 2:45 Eastern today, folks. So stay tuned for that for sure.
Should be good. Should be great.
I love that Charles is so playful that he'll do stuff like that. And I know Maria does a lot of, super macro stuff with you too, Pete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do some fun stuff. Matter of fact, today, John, unfortunately, I got bumped. And the reason being was everything was going fine. We had everything all set up and all, but when PPI came out, they managed to get one more person that they really wanted to hear from the White House. So, you know what? You can't really get in front of those kind of guys or whatever. I even said, look, I'm all good. I can back out. They said, we probably will have a few minutes left. I go, if you guys don't worry about me, it's all good. But it was all good. And man, it's interesting watching how the markets are reacting, John. I say we jump right into macro, bro.
Sure. Macro right now. Well, macro is that the markets are uncertain. PPI showed stronger than expected inflation. It came out at 0.9% in July versus expectations of 0.2. So heightened speculation regarding the potential interest rate cut. Does that make it more likely, less likely, blah, blah, blah? The market has gone back and forth on it, Pete. Even just in these first 3 hours of trading, it's gone up, down, mainly down first, then up, then back down.
Yeah, no doubt about it, John. I mean, the reality is this. The CPI number got the markets pretty excited about things. The markets, obviously, yesterday when you're looking and you're up 400 points on the Dow, it's a pretty decent day, I would say. Today, a little bit different. We saw the reaction immediately from PPI, John. And as you said, we started off the day in some decent-sized negative territory. We tried to rally a little bit and then came back down. And I think that's because of the uncertainty of, well, what does this really mean for September? And we got all the way up to 100% certainty that we were going to get a cut and maybe even a 50-point cut. So that was really where we were. But that may have changed a little bit, and we'll have to see. Obviously, we've got a long time before we get to the September meeting. Lots of different things will happen before then. But that was something that I think had people just sort of scratching their heads trying to figure out, well, is it going to be a cut? And if so, is it a quarter point? If not, is it nothing? All of that is on the table right now.
Well, I think Powell's going to have an issue with members of the FOMC, Pete, because already 3 people were against it in the last time when they stayed pat on rates. And I think even though, as you say accurately, people are uncertain about what this means and when a cut might come and could it be as large as 50 basis points, I'd say if he didn't do anything in SEP, Pete, he's looking at a 50-point cut in the next couple meetings.
Yeah.
And that'll be a freaking mutiny aboard that ship. But we'll have to stick around and see. Meanwhile, Bitcoin trades through 124,000. That's my fantastic future, that and Ethereum, because Bitcoin came off hard from that, Pete. It went through 124,000 per USD, fell down to 118,000. So that's $5,000 drop, pretty decent size, about 2.5%. Meanwhile, Ethereum only fell slightly. And that's because so many people are raising targets and buying it for their treasuries, right, Pete?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's been interesting to watch. And I think it's great to have both of those names up there because it is becoming a much more of a rivalry thing. It's no longer who's second, because that was Ethereum for a long time, but not anymore. Real quick, I'll just say this about the volatility index, John. It ain't hardly moving. And that's the interesting part about all this, right? I mean, the markets get hit pretty hard. It looked like we're going to get a pretty decent spike on the vol because we had dropped so significantly into the 14s, but that's really not the case. This morning, we've been as much as 1460 all the way up to about 1540. And right now we're almost exactly at 15 for the volatility index, which is pretty interesting. Obviously, we've got a lot more that could move things around, but I think a lot of people probably were expecting to see that VIX make a pretty nice pop to the upside with the markets down, especially with the Dow down triple digits. It didn't happen, and I don't think it's going to happen. I think we might very, very easily we could close back into the 14s, which I think would surprise a lot of people given what was happening with the PPI number immediately after that was released.
Well, folks, remember that we're always happy to have you tune into the show. And we're also happy to have you guys join us for free webinars. We don't take your credit card or anything else, folks. You can register by going to marketrebellion.com/register, just like it says on the bottom of that page, marketrebellion.com/register. It's Pete's show place tonight, but he's got Ryan Mastro and Greg on with him, and I'll be there because Mark's going to be up in the air, Pete. I don't know if our fearless leader figured out that his flight doesn't land until 6. That means you can't really do a 4 o'clock webinar, Mark.
Dare I say it? Genius? No, I'm just kidding.
Genius. But we already had to reschedule once, folks, so we're not going to reschedule it again. It is tonight, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, completely free. And as you know, with all of our webinars like this, we record the webinar so you can watch it whenever you want. We send you a copy for free. We don't say, oh, if you'd like a copy, we'll charge you $50 or whatever. Nope. We send it out to you for everybody that registers. So that way you can take notes furiously if you want during the discussion, but you don't have to, because you can watch this thing again and again and make sure you get the points that Pete, Greg, and Ryan are making. And I'll just be there for comic relief, I think.
That ought to be good.
Yeah. So anyway, join us tonight, 4 p.m. Eastern, folks. That's right as the market closes. And again, if it's not convenient for you at that time, we will send you a copy just for registering. All right, Pete, let's take a look at this one, TeraWulf. Now, you and I spoke about it, I think, for one of the first times just a couple weeks ago. It's a Bitcoin mining and high performance computing, or HPC, infrastructure company, with hyperscaling and AI in the names of what they do. No surprise that this one gets a lot of love. But nobody knew, except the insiders, of course, that TeraWulf was going to sign a deal with Google, taking a stake in the company to help fund one of their projects. And it's a 10-year project, Pete. So, wow, shares just popped all the way to whatever, $7 and some odd cents.
Yep.
And you know where it was prior, Pete? Well, when you take a look at TeraWulf and you see the unusual activity that we cite, I mean, look at that spike that right now Jared is showing you.
Something like that.
Yeah, just a huge spike. And you know what? They were buying calls. They were buying calls. February, 9 calls, but the stock was 537. So you know what Pete and I did? We buy the at the monies, folks. We don't want to bet on the way out of the money because, again, you're moving the odds against yourself. Doesn't mean you can't win, and this one obviously would have won pretty big out there with the 9s. But you know what? The 5s or 5.5s or 6s, better odds. And we're all about moving the odds into our favor. So look at this thing, and obviously you saw that it's already been through $8 today. Bang.
Yeah, not so bad. It's great to see that UOA on there as well, John. And I'll tell you, with TeraWulf, I mean, you covered it really well, so I don't want to, go too much about the same stuff. But I will say this: A 10-year deal for AI. That's pretty amazing. And to get Google in there with 41 million shares, Jon, of WULF, that says a lot for I think the company going forward. It didn't quite get all the way up to its 52-week highs, which is up there near 950, but it was a heck of a nice spike early on, specifically where it just took off. And I think a lot of people were just curious about this one. And you look at the agreements that were put out in front of it, we're talking about anywhere between 3.7 billion, depending on how it goes, or maybe even more. So this is a big deal. This is also a stock that was up triple digits since April. So pretty nice run that it's had, I'd say, in the last few months. Not so bad.
Not so bad. Yeah, and the unusual activity made it even better. And folks, remember, you can go on over to marketrebellion.com/get started to subscribe to any of the subscription products, education, whatever it is that we're discussing. And you can see all of those offerings on that page, marketrebellion.com/get started. All right, Pete, now let's talk about Coherent, because the stock had a low of $45 or something like that, a high of 120. Well, it falls 23% today, right back into the middle. So it falls back to 80, which is 40 points above the low, 40 points below the high. This one, they're selling their defense and aerospace business to Advent. And yeah, they're going to get money for it, but man, they have some real problems, it looks like, with this balance sheet, Pete, and that's what people are worried about.
I think they're worried about that. They're also a little bit worried, Jon, about some of the guidance that they put out there as well. When you look at the full year, everything looked great when you're looking at, hey, where are we right now? What did we close up with? Well, revenue is up 5.1 billion, up 23% year over year. That's a monstrous number. So you'll say, well, why is it going down? Give me a second. You also look over at the Q4 revenue. Same sort of a story. It's up 18% year over year. It's 1.53 billion. The problem is, as they went out, their guidance for revenue was below where they were expecting it to be. It was supposed to expect it to be at 1.6 billion. They came in a little bit lower than that, 1.46 billion. It seemed like that was one of the big negatives as well, Jon. They don't like to see that, and we talk about it all the time. When it really comes down to everything, it does really turn into a guidance. What does it look like going forward? We've already seen it. The stock already knows where they are. But now going forward, what does it look like? And I think they're getting punished pretty good today for that. Probably overdone, quite honestly, but I guess time will tell.
Well, time will also tell about Tapestry, Pete, TPR. Used to be called Coach, and it is still the parent company of Coach and Kate Spade, number of luxury brands. They say that the tariffs are expected to weigh on profitability. So all you got to do is say that, and people are like, okay. It's at the 52-week high, basically yesterday, Pete. So it trades down hard. And the question is, are the rest of these numbers that they announced, Pete, comfort granting, or are they things that make you a little uncomfortable holding the stock at its 52-week high? For a lot of people, it's uncomfortable, and that's why they're hitting it by some 16-17% today.
And they might be overdoing it, Jon, maybe. This is another case where I'm looking at it from that perspective, because I look at Tapestry, I look at some of their numbers. They look really impressive. I mean, this is another one, Jon. In Q4, their earnings were $1.04. It was 2 cents better than was expected. It was also a pretty big jump from where they were at 82 cents a year ago. So I look at that and I say, well, it looks pretty good. I also look over at the revenue. The revenue was another beat, 7.2 billion compared to 7.1 billion. That's for 26. So I look at this one, and they did throw out there, as you said, they talked about the tariffs and how that's going to hurt the profitability. I get it. But at some point, it seems to me like they're doing well enough that this would be one I'd keep an eye on, especially the fact that when you look at this from a fundamental perspective, this thing's got a price to earnings, a PE of about 20. So that seems pretty reasonable. We see a lot of other stocks, Jon, a heck of a lot higher than that we kind of cling on to. This is one where they're trying to get different things happening with them, but I'm impressed with what they've been able to put up. They obviously, unfortunately, shot themselves in the foot by what they said, but at least I guess they were being honest about what they said, hurting profitability. I could see that, but how much will that be hurting the profitability? And I think that's the big part of this whole thing. And I happen to think that maybe this is a great opportunity in this particular name.
I agree with you, Pete. I mean, the company increased 8% on the sales side or revenue to a quarterly record. Does that sound like a company I should be selling? It doesn't really sound like that. So I like that they gave the, sort of bleh guidance, but even with the blah, it's still better than what the street was looking for as far as sales in 26. Like you said, 7.2 billion versus 7.1. Question is, will the tariffs hurt profitability? And just them questioning it perhaps creates an opportunity for some people that are a little braver. All right, one more, Pete. Let's talk about Bullish, because you want to see something bullish? This is it. And what do you got to do these days, Pete, to be bullish? Well, you got to have something in crypto. And so this is a Peter Thiel-backed crypto exchange. So think of Coinbase and all the big coin, digital asset exchanges. This one just did its IPO yesterday, surged 84%, and tacked more onto that early on today. So I would say that the fact that people are talking about Ether that don't even know what it is, they probably think it's something that knocks people out by putting a gag over their face with, the Ether in it. This is Ethereum, folks, but we do call it Ether. Anyway, I'd say this one is one to keep your eye on, because if Elon's in it or if Peter Thiel's in it, I want to be in it.
Yeah, and Peter Thiel, is this guy just magical or what? I mean, you got to give him all the credit in the world. If his name is attached to something, this proved it once again, John, it's probably going to do pretty well. It didn't hurt the fact that Bitcoin hit an all-time high yesterday. It didn't hurt also that Ethereum had near 52-week highs yesterday. So I think that all just sort of built into this whole storyline. And, to be bullish, this thing is looking pretty damn good. You talked about some of the moves. Today's move is what, about 18% to the upside at 881 or somewhere close to that. And I know yesterday was huge. Hit 117.93 yesterday. I mean, that is an unbelievable first day move to beat where they actually priced it at. So should it pull back a little bit? It probably should. I mean, we've seen a lot of these reactions where the initial reaction is this just firing to the upside, and, everything was going in the right direction for them. I still think this is one where if Peter Thiel's in it, I probably would want to be a part of it, John. I am not right now, but I'm going to let the dust sort of settle right now. Hopefully that's not a mistake, but if it is, I missed the opportunity. But I'm going to let a little bit of the dust settle before I start thinking about where's the best place to maybe start thinking about starting to add a position. And if Peter's in there, this Peter wants to be in this one too.
Yeah, well, the largest shareholder in this one, Pete, owns 30%.
I saw that.
And that largest shareholder is now worth $3.4 billion.
Not so bad.
Not so bad. That's according to Bloomberg. All right, let's toss it over to Pete for sports. And what do you got today, Pete?
It sounds like if I was that 30% guy, I could have got a pretty big chunk of the Boston Celtics, John. That's all I can tell you.
You could have bought half.
Who knew that they were we'd see the kind of numbers that we're seeing in baseball? We know what we see in football, but this is extraordinary, John. The Chisholm Group comes out there, and it's a $6.1 billion deal, and it was a unanimous thing from the NBA. The sale is clean. It's great. This is coming from a guy who's a private equity guy, which I think you're going to see more and more of that, John, involved in some of these pro sports. We've also heard something about this at the college level as well, right? So there's a lot of reasons for to be on the lookout for what these PE firms are doing. The largest price ever paid for an American sports team, John. Now, when I say that, people are going to go, wait a minute. Now the Cowboys are worth like 10. Now somebody yesterday, I think, said 12 billion, John. So let's say they are. Well, we know where he bought it. He ain't selling it. And I don't know when the time will come, but he paid what he paid. Now, if he were to sell it, we all have a pretty good idea that it's going to go somewhere close to what this valuation is based upon what we're seeing happening here. But the Boston Celtics, John, that's a pretty amazing number, which also follows up from what happened with the Lakers and Jeannie Buss and everything going on there with the Phoenix Suns and all the different dollar amounts that keep on going. I mean, I think the highest price for an NBA team was $4.8 billion when that happened with the Phoenix Suns. This absolutely eclipses that at $6.1 billion. But the Lakers, at least on paper, John, are worth essentially $10 billion. And that's all having to do with how much does she really give, in this transaction, which isn't very clear with this guy, Walter, who is also the owner of the Dodgers. I think this guy's got a little too much money, John, because if you can hit the Dodgers and you can get the Lakers, I think you're probably pretty gifted, but daggone it, you're taking over.
Well, and I remember, Pete, in 2014 when Ballmer bought the Clippers for the then ludicrous price. Ludicrous, because it was. Yep. Nobody had ever paid this. He said, I'll pay $2 billion.
Yeah.
Well, looks like he stole it. I mean, I'm not saying they're in the Lakers category of 10 bill or the 6.1 bill that you just cited for the Celtics, but man, there are some serious bucks seriously higher than that $2 billion high watermark 11 years ago, Pete.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty amazing thing. That's why people love trading, buying these sports teams. And there's a lot of private equity that's going to get involved in all of these professional sports. Mm-hmm. Anybody that's got a good TV contract, Pete, and these guys have a great TV contract, you always hit on that.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Overpriced, but nonetheless, it's unbelievable for those owners. They got to love that. All right, John, who are the two teams this year in the NFL that can turn it around from last year where they went nowhere or they were really pretty awful? I'm speaking in my side of it. I'm going to say this. For the NFC, I'm going to go with the 49ers. And here's why. The 49ers didn't even make the playoffs last year. Why is that? They had injuries everywhere. McCaffrey looks like he's pretty damn good shape. The guy always looks like he's in good shape because he is, but he looks like he's recovering. He looks pretty good. I think the rest of those players, he had so many guys that were on the IR, John, by the time they got literally like halfway through the season that, Purdy's back there running around for his life. And Purdy was pretty damn good. And they rewarded Purdy with that big contract at the end of the season as well for all the right reasons. He just didn't have enough help around him. He had none of his receivers left and right were gone. Running back is gone. Left tackle is gone. Other guys on defense are gone. Tight end gets banged up once in a while as well. But I think the 49ers are going to be one of these teams that if people started sleeping on them or forgot about who the 49ers are, as long as they can stay healthy, John, I think that's an NFC team that easily could be in the Super Bowl even, potentially. And I know that, don't get me wrong. I know Philadelphia's out there. I know Washington's out there. I brought up Tampa the other day, but this is a team that I think could really make a big turn. So why don't we stick with NFC? Who do you think is sort of one of those teams? It could be the 49ers, but who do you think it is?
Yeah, I would say you're probably on the right track with the 49ers, Pete. But when you shot this to me about, who was more or less one of the worst that could go to the first, one that kind of stood out to me, Pete, was Jacksonville. And I know you can't hardly talk about it because, you're good friends with the owner. And even though he didn't have us on his boat down at the Super Bowl, which I'm still a little pissed at.
Sean.
They were 3-11 last year into the finals, which they finished 4-13, I guess, or something
Ouch.
like that.
Yeah.
I think they got a shot because of Trevor Lawrence, who I think is a really good quarterback. I think defensively they got better, and they're in a weak AFC South. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say, Pete, that they have a real shot. I've seen them look really good. I've also, of course, with a 4-13 record, you might imagine we've all seen them look pretty bad. But I think they might be ready, Pete. So I'll say Jacksonville Jaguars is my team to watch.
Well, I'll tell Shad he'll like hearing that. You think he's made the turn, and they got the new coach and everything from Tampa and all that, so that's all good. I'll throw one other one just as a potential interesting one too. How about the New England Patriots? The New England Patriots, John, are loaded with draft picks. They went out into the I was about to say the portal free agency. They went out there. They've done that. They've done a lot of things. Obviously, they changed the head coach as well. Vrabel is now the head coach. I think that's a great fit, I think, for him to be back home essentially and doing his thing there. And they've got Drake May at quarterback, who threw too many interceptions last year. He did. There's no doubt about it. These young guys are going to do stuff like that. But I think he's got enough. And as long as he's got more protection, he's got better receivers to throw to, a nice running game, and all the rest of it, John. They were 4-13 last year. I don't think these guys are going to the Super Bowl, nor do I think they're going to beat Baltimore or somebody else if they were get to the playoffs. But this is a team that I think could maybe at least double what they won last year. So I could say these guys potentially, they could win 8 games. And I like what we've seen. They're practicing right over here. They were yesterday, and they are again today, John. And I'll tell you what, they have so many pieces to the puzzle that I think they've put together. Now they've just got to make sure they can play together as a team. And I think Vrabel is the right guy, right coach to be able to put these guys together. So I like their chances to – do they get to the playoffs? Maybe. But if they can double it this year and get 8 wins, I think that's pretty damn good. And I think the ownership would probably be pretty damn happy.
Well, I'll be pretty damn happy, Pete, being with my friend Charles Payne at 2:45 this afternoon, because I'll get to give him some of our insights into some of the stocks, maybe some of them that we covered here on the show. Yeah. It's always up to Charles what we're going to cover, but he's also got, as I said, a panel with me and Susan Downey, and I guess we're going to, 3 of us, go back and forth with a number of topics. So he says, that'll be fun, John. And I said, okay. You're the man.
It's entertainment, man. Even financial television can have entertainment. Why not? What the hell?
Gotta do it. Well, as you know, we don't do the Rebel's Edge on Fridays, folks, unless we have a special. Yeah. So we will be back on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can see Pete and I tomorrow morning, as Pete's doing his walk in the morning and I'll do my 60-second. But no Rebel's Edge tomorrow. Not until Monday at 1 p.m. See you then.